Chapter 29. "Mickey," said Karen. Sitting in the chair at her desk, she was in her own world. It wasn't a case of being tired or anything like that. She was having a serious case of cabin fever. Outside, the weather had turned cold since it was now the middle of fall. Her hometown of Sonora had a tendency to not only be cold in the fall, but at the moment the skies were gray, and there was a bit of a cold breeze from the north. In the spring, the hills in the surrounding countryside were so green, Mickey often said that they seemed to have been colored in with a green magic marker. The plentiful rains that characterized winter and early spring saw to it that the verdant flora draw you in magnetically. As you drive through the hills, you just sometimes have to pull your car over and look out over the hills and open plains to appreciate the view. Wind often swept up the various dips and surges of geologic time, and through the tall grasses interspersed with the patches of oak trees and manzanita shrubs. As if watching the waves of the ocean, the wind could be seen molding and shaping the meadow at its whim. Today, though, climactic serenity seemed to be a distant memory. Drifts of snow populated the higher elevations, whereas dry and biting cold winds without the snow were the order of the day at the elevation where Mickey worked, at the Social Services Center. She had been interviewing John and Connie Price, a couple hoping to adopt a child since they could not conceive on their own. The couple seemed like very good candidates, but time would tell. What with the financial and home environment reviews to be done, he owned a car repair shop and seemed to be a good provider on the surface. She was congenial and good-natured. Mickey thought about how Connie reminded her of her mother and... "Mickey!" said Karen decidedly louder. Startled, Mickey swung around in her seat in the break room and almost spilled the coffee from her cup as it sloshed from one side of the cup that she was holding to the other. "Oh my gosh, Karen, you scared me to death," Mickey replied a bit breathy. "Sorry, sweetie, but I was calling your name and you just sat there. Where were you just now?" "Oh, just feeling a little cabin fever, I guess. This cold weather conflicts with my nature-oriented social schedule quite persistently," responded Mickey. Karen chuckled. "Well, I was just trying to tell you that your 2:30 appointment called and rescheduled. They had something come up and apologized." "That's fine," said Mickey, relieved now that her schedule had changed. She didn't really feel like putting on a mechanical smile again today. Normally, she wouldn't mind, but she indeed felt like she needed to be outside. What was that vitamin that they say the sun helps your body make or metabolize or something? "Vitamin D," said Karen. "Huh?" Mickey looked up. "What was that?" "You just said that you were wondering what vitamin was the one that the sun helped you with, or something like that. It's vitamin D." Cocking her right eyebrow up in the middle. "I said that out loud?" Mickey queried. She knew the answer as she was asking the question. Karen just grinned, now convinced her boss needed to get away. Opening her eyes wide in mock fatigue, Mickey stood and emptied the remainder of her cup of coffee. Making her way back to her cubicle, Mickey's eyes scanned over the file folders that needed to be filed and decided this was a good task for her overqualified and undertasked assistant. Casually gesturing a finger toward her desk, Mickey asked, "Karen, do you think you could—" Mickey knew she didn't have to put it into a request. Yes, she was Karen's boss, but that didn't mean you had to lord it over your subordinates. "Of course. Get out of here and get the stink off you." The corner of Mickey's mouth curled up slightly at the idiom. The first time Karen used that phrase, Mickey became mildly offended at the supposed accusation of odor. Immediately sensing her faux pas, Karen explained that this was a phrase her parents used toward their children when it seemed to be time for the children to go outside, play, and expend the boundless storehouses of energy that seemed to be a common commodity amongst young ones their age. Mickey gathered up her things, and after making a last-minute check of her schedule for Monday, she left her office in the hands of Karen and left the single-story brick building. Even though this building was technically a government building, It was actually a historic landmark nestled in the small lee of a canyon, surrounded by trees and shrubbery. As such, it sometimes seemed later than it actually was, since the sun only made it to the ground here for a small portion of the day, when it managed to peek over the surrounding rock cliffs. After climbing into her car and setting out for home, Mickey's cell phone rang. "Hello?" "Hey, babe," said Jason's voice on the other end of the line. "Oh, hi, sweetie. How's your day?" responded Mickey. "Actually, it just got better," said Jason. "Oh? How's that?" "That's easy. I'm talking to the most beautiful woman in the world right now, silly." "Oh, you masher," said Mickey in a playful tone. "I have half a mind to come there and spend an hour teaching you a lesson you'll never forget." "How does a long weekend sound instead?" posed Jason. "One more time?" "I said I have a different idea. How does a long weekend sound instead?" posed Jason. "A long weekend? What do you mean?" "Well, you know that little trip to Vegas you wanted to go on?" "No, really?" said Mickey in a very excited tone. "Yep. I asked my boss, and I got the time off," said Jason, just as excited as Mickey. "Awesome! When do we go?" "Well, I'm thinking we can go next week, if you can get the time off." "Not a problem. I'm so excited," squealed Mickey. "Me too. I'd really like to see a couple of shows while we are there, too," said Jason, with a perceptible smile in the tone of his voice. "Nothing too racy, though." "I'll be all the racy you need, sweetie," responded Mickey, knowing her husband was only participating in an oft-played inside joke of theirs. Wouldn't be the last time. "Deal. Well, I gotta go, hon, but I'll see you tonight," said Jason. "See you tonight, sweetheart. I love you," responded Mickey. "I love you more," said Jason as he hung up the phone. Jason laid the handset to the phone down. He sat for a while and contemplated how they would have to get a sitter for Jace while they were gone. That wouldn't be a problem, though. He was a good kid, and since Jason and Mickey had performed the same kind of favor for some of the neighborhood families that they knew, it should be easy enough to find the family of one of Jace's friends who will take him in. "Well, back to the grind," Jason said to himself. Meanwhile, sitting in her car, Mickey thought about the new Vegas adventure that was to come. That did a lot to alleviate the feelings of drudgery she was feeling in the office, but she still had a little bit of the cabin fever feeling yet. Deciding she had some extra time since she got off work a little early, Mickey decided to take a little drive up the canyon that was near to the town where they lived. As she drove, she turned on the heater to the car but then cracked the window open, desiring for the heady aroma of pine trees to infiltrate the car. Sure enough, her toes were treated to the warmth they needed, her nose luxuriated in the aroma of nature, and the batteries to her soul began their much-needed recharge. Little did she know that as she drove up the canyon, she passed within yards of the building where her husband's car was secretly parked. Hey, fellow Galimarians, this is Dan Adrian, and I just wanted to say thank you for listening to my book. If you can, please click like down below because it really helps me bring these videos to you and lets me know what you like. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe and click on the bell so that you'll get notified when I release more chapters. If you have any questions about this or any other of my books, or if you want to know more about what it takes to write a novel like this one, please make sure you leave your question in the comments below. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.